Hey everyone, so this week with a lot going on, Tesla, Bitcoin, crypto, I just want to change the topic a little bit and talk about space because I haven't talked about space in a little while. However, we've got a launch coming up for SpaceX that's supposed to happen today. And then there's actually like even bigger, more important stuff that's about to come happen within sort of the space area development, which is that Starship, which is this massive, incredible, huge rocket, which SpaceX and Elon Musk are testing so that we can first send it into space, send it to the moon, and then sort of create space depots, bases, lunar colonies, so as to eventually colonize Mars. I mean, they're going to actually start to test this with its very big booster. And in other words, we are now going to be on the way to where this will be tested, proven out over the next 12, 24 months. And as this article says from Morgan Stanley, which is that SpaceX's Starship may transform investor expectations about space, because until now, most people are really just missing it. I've come on this channel and told you that I really believe that space is the Bitcoin of 2011 or the Tesla of 2017 or 2018. In other words, to make the big money, you have to be ahead of other people. Most people, of course, come to Bitcoin or Tesla and then think like, well, you know, what's the next one? And then they look in that world itself and you might find one. However, oftentimes it comes from somewhere else. Like, for example, I think many of the people who are looking for the next Apple never imagined that it would be Tesla. And I believe that people that are looking for the next big thing, this is it, space. Because right now, the future is not discounted into the prices of the companies that are participating in this, because people, the vast majority of people are thinking it's too far out, it's too sci-fi, whatever, something like that. And those are the places where the big money is made, because when things happen, there is a surprise factor, which now draws a lot of investors to come in and bid prices higher. And that's where you want to be. If you're someone that is looking to make BMOT, big money over time, and that's what we're about exclusively. We are not about day traders. We're not about technical analysis. We're not about short-term gains. We're about making big money over time, sort of minimum 1 to 3 years. And you know, I've made a series of videos on space, so you should check those out, where I've set up the sort of overall atmosphere, if you will, for what is about to happen. And what is about to happen is that now we are beginning to start to sort of buy up real estate in space. For example, Jeff Bezos's company, Blue Origin, says that they're going to put up a private space lab facility so that private companies can rocket up in there and go do things, manufacture things, because microgravity has many advantages for the production of lots of things on Earth. There's also certain things that people might prefer to manufacture in space because we no longer want to pollute the Earth. I read that this is one of the things that is motivating people. And then I also found this story, which is about SpaceX partnering with a company called Varda Space to launch the first space factory. In other words, to make things. And this is a necessary development for everything that Elon Musk and SpaceX are looking to do, which is ultimately to set up a colony on Mars. There's no way that we are going to be able to carry all the things that we need to get to Mars. We can't carry all the fuel. We can't carry all the food. We can't carry buildings or bricks or anything like that. In other words, we're going to have to do this quite differently. And if you think then from the perspective of, you know, you've got this big Starship, it has got a huge payload capacity, the biggest in human history. What can we take to Mars? Well, we're going to take 3D printers, because I actually even saw a story saying that like NASA is experimenting with using moon soil, using a 3D printer to make structures. And I'm certain we'll do that with Martian soil. With respect to food and other things, we now have vertical farming where we can actually take these things so as to be able to have optimal farms that we can put underneath a dome so as to grow food. So the underlying technology is all sitting in place for us to be able to become a spacefaring species and a multiplanetary species. And to even talk about this now still seems a little bit far off. However, that's what makes this such a big opportunity. You see, most people, when it seems like a little bit odd or seems a little bit funny or kind of embarrassed almost to talk about it, that's the big opportunity. Because you think back when Tesla was making electric vehicles and they're like, oh man, those are for like, people that are like weird, that want these weird electric cars. Nobody's going to buy them. And the same thing was true when Bitcoin first came out. It's like, Bitcoin, like, please. I mean, these are for these crazy people. And that's where space is today. I mean, where if you talk about the details of space, people are sort of embarrassed by it. They think that there's something weird to it. However, I can tell you from my experience, that's the place where you want to be invested. And if you're in Profits Unlimited across our other services, we've got a number of rocket companies. We've also got 3D printing companies, because 3D printing is going to be the way that we colonize the moon, colonize Mars. And we're going to use everything from synthetic protein, kind of like what Beyond Meat does. We'll use 3D printing as well to create food. We'll use some vertical farming. You can see that the many elements of the fourth industrial revolution and America 2.0 can really be synthesized and taken together. And that's really will form the basis of everything that we do on the moon, in Mars. And then as we have floating colonies in space, we'll start with some copy of like what we have currently, where we'll have labs, we'll have factories. And in Profits Unlimited, we have the special report that which you can have access to if you want to. If you click on the strong hands above, it will send you to my video promotion about space, telling you all about it. And we've got 3 companies in there. So we've got a 3D printing company, we've got a chip company, and then we've got what I believe is a incredibly unique play on space, which is that, of course, like we're going to have to fill the space up between the Earth and the moon, because we're going to need like refueling depots. We're going to need to have places where we are growing things, where we have food and stored up so that people can refuel and restock up. No different than kind of like, hundreds and hundreds of years ago when we had explorers going to other continents. They would stop at islands and restock and do things. We're going to have to do all of those same things. And this company uniquely is, at least by my investigation, the only publicly traded company that's in the business of sort of really positioning infrastructure into space. So it's very unique, very unusual, and it's also very, very small. So in other words, it's just got a market capitalization that is puny, tiny, which means that it can rocket up with, all puns intended. If you want access to our 3 space picks, which are all phenomenal, like I said, 3D printing, so be critical for space, chips, which is that, hey, the Starship, that big, massive thing is just filled with sensors and chips. However, these are specialized chips. They've got to be radiation hardened because, you've got the sun out there and you don't have the protective atmosphere of Earth. So you got to protect it. So there's only very few companies that specialize in these radiation hardened chips. And we focused on that company in Profits Unlimited for our space pick. And then finally, like I mentioned, infrastructure. We're going to have to position a lot of infrastructure first between us and the moon, and then between us and other planets. I know it's amazing to think that what you once read in books as sci-fi is actually coming real right now. I am very, very BOP, bullish, optimistic, positive on space, and I believe this is the next big thing. All right, that's it for this week. Come back next week. I'll see you then. This is Paul saying bye.